The following is a Productions original series.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Vincent, joined by Addie Rich. Our podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of the disability community. I'm a polio survivor, and Addie
has cerebral palsy.
You are. Hey, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good.
How was Easter yesterday?
I was just going to ask you the same thing. It was good. Yeah.
It was good. You went and saw family, right?
Yeah, went and saw family. It's a tradition going back to my aunt and uncle who used to do it. You know, my mom was one of 7 girls, so we kind of, there was one aunt that we went to Thanksgiving, one aunt that we went to Christmas, and one aunt we went to Easter, all those things. So, her kids now have taken it up. Actually, it kind of rotated a little bit amongst their kids, but now it's kind of fallen over under my cousin Leonard for, probably, Natalie was young. Yeah, so probably 30 years. So he's got a ranch outside of Hanford, California. And years ago, he got I guess you call it a drainage pipe. I don't know if you've seen the big concrete ones.
Yes.
Yeah, they're in sections, so it's about maybe at least 4 feet across.
Okay.
And so he dug a hole in his yard and put that in there, up and down.
Okay.
And then we used to, it's as we get older, and of course every family has this, people get older, they have kids of their own, they have to go to in-laws, all those things. But really in its prime, we used to get together with all the cousins on a Saturday night and, other family members of theirs and friends of theirs. So there'd be 30, 40, 50 people out there, with a big bonfire going in that pit. And getting it all ready to, stoke up the coals. And, and then over the course of the evening, we'd have something to eat. We'd have some beverages. We would, and then they'd pack all the meat. So, at first it was just for us, but then it kind of got around, amongst family and friends that, we had this big pit. So there'll be like 12, 15 things going there, pork and chicken and ham and turkey and all that stuff. And then he pulls it out at, in the morning, the next morning. And then we all gather. And in the old days, it was the aunts were still around and they would all come on the next day. So it was more of a family oriented thing on Sunday. Yeah. So it was fun. So, but it's great to go back and catch up with everybody and hang out. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Everything was good. Yeah. So
that's awesome. And I saw you posted on a social about, was it Holiday Inn? That their bathroom was awesome.
Yeah, they had everything placed right. Instead of having the sometimes there's a bench in there. So if you're transferring, in people that are in a wheelchair know this, you transfer onto the bench, and sometimes they'll have the soap. And nowadays, you probably experienced this. Hotels have them like somehow secured to the wall.
Yes, but they're normally too high, and so is the handle, so is the head thing. So
or they have the wand. They have the wand at the other side. Yeah. Or they leave it too high. So there's been more than one occasion I've had to call the front desk. Can you have somebody come in and move the shower head down? So so that one was perfect. So I thought I would give kudos to them.
I was like, Doug is clapping. I do follow your social media for one, and 2, Doug is super happy.
Yeah, I roll in, look at the shower. It's okay. It's a roll in. Is everything in the right place? Yeah. So
and the crowd erupts. That's really nice. I wasn't sure if you had gone to the Central Coast. I mean, I know you have cousins kind of everywhere.
And there's still some there, definitely, and some. Came over from there. So,
nice.
We got to see him. Well, I'm trying to think. There was something else I wanted to do. Oh, at the Veterans Village. We did a whole Easter thing last Thursday as well. And it was great. We did hamburgers, hot dogs, and had Easter baskets for all the kids there in the village, all that. So it was great. And it's, we've done these kinds of things a few times. And, the turnout has been hit and miss sometimes, but we had a nice turnout, and I want to give a shout out to Al, who is the there's an organization that helps the veterans there, find all the benefits that they have available, right? So since he's been there, he started having like a coffee and donuts thing in the common area once a month, different things like that. So I think it's really built a sense of community. And I think that's why now people are comfortable coming around and hanging out with each other more than they ever have been. So, yes, so.
I mean, that's amazing. Go Al, because we always talk about community is a huge deal, right? Yeah. And I mean, we've heard more than once where people are former soldiers, former military. Well, I feel like saying former is a fake out because you're never once you get there.
Yeah.
Well, but because there is the closeness and the community and everything, and then you come home and you're no longer with like your group that you went through hell and back, and but community is so big in helping people reacclimate or acclimatize, whatever you want to call it, but also understanding stuff that none of us understand because we didn't do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So. We can maybe empathize a little bit, but fully understand until you've been there. Yeah.
Yes.
And they, it's so fun to watch all the different branches give each other a hard time when they come down to the pantry. It's bonding. It's bonding. What about your Easter? How was it?
So I didn't really do a lot, but I do want to shout out my nephew, who is 16. Well, okay, he's going to be 17, I think. Yeah, he's going to be 17, but he played the Easter Bunny at my sister's new job. They did like a Easter thing for people that came to like the brunch and stuff. And my nephew was a freaking champ and was the Easter Bunny. My sister told me ahead of time that they were going to do this, and the person that was supposed to do it had bailed out. And so she was like, I'm going to try to get my nephew to do it. And then she's like, worst come to worst, I'll do it. So later in the day yesterday, I get pictures of the Easter Bunny. And I sent back to my sister, okay, is that you or is that my nephew? Right. And she's like, nope, it's your nephew. So apparently he made it almost 2 hours in the costume with tons of kids hugging him and waving and taking pictures. And I mean, if you know a 17-year-old boy, that's really their jam. But I will tell you that my nephew is one of the most compassionate, like two smaller children. I told her, I was like, he should work in like a daycare or something because he does have such a big heart for kids.
He's a big dude too.
He's a big dude.
So he's in a whole suit that you didn't know if he was in there or your sister. Yeah.
And that made my heart burst because he's doing it for my sister. Like, who wants to do it? He's doing it because he supports his mom, and he knew that like this event was really important to her and her new job to like show she's got it and she can do it. Yeah. And the fact that like, he just did it and enjoyed the kids. And she said kids were coming up to him and like thanking him for the Easter basket and all this. And he was just being so happy about it. And like, so I just wanted the chance to shout him out. And although I did nothing Easter related, like this auntie could cry over the man he's becoming to do something selfless. So,
well, we had a mascot at the radio station I worked at, and the kids that did it then, because a lot of times the people that worked in promotions were high school, maybe college. And if they could spend 15 minutes in that thing, they'd come out and they'd be drenched. So if he spent 2 hours in there, wow, he was committed.
Yeah, he's committed.
Yeah, good for him.
I'm just so impressed. There are certain things that that are unsaid that make you so proud of a human, and that is one for me.
Good for him.
Go, buddy, go.
A Rock and Roll Live shout out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thank you to Bobby Rohan and Roberto Soto for coming on last week and helping us with the Abilities Expo and telling that story and kind of giving people the flavor. Don't miss it next year. Or if you've never been, you got to check it out. All right.
You should go.
Yes. And then Rene Rojo is our guest this week. And we're going to learn all about what he does. He's a busy guy. I met him, just briefly one night. I went to Medieval Times.
Medieval Times. Yeah.
And I was sitting next to him, and he was telling me about some of the things that he was doing. I said, well, you got to come on the show. And, when he came on and did the interview, it was even more than I imagined. He's just, and you know what? I love it because he really is active, but he because I tell people all the time that are doing some event, and I said, well, send me the information. And we'll talk about it. We'll put it on the website. And he's the one that has listened to me, and he does it.
He's
I'm always
faithful in it.
Yeah, I'm getting stuff so I can help their organization and their fundraisers and whatever they're doing. So Rene is coming up next. First, though, we're going to hear a word from Aguiar Professional Training.
At Aguiar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. Aguiar is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with Aguiar Professional Training and witness the growth of your business.
From the Aguiar Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
Today, new day, new guest, let's say. Today, new day, new guest, let's say. We've told a lot of stories, there's been so many glories. We've seen incredible changes, each with beautiful ranges. Doug, yeah, Attitude. It's another Tuesday, and we're gonna do it. Tell another disability story, a walk and roll life story. Everyone's listening, always very soothing. Doug, yeah, attitude. Everyone's here, so let's tell another tale. Gather round, learn what it will entail. Walk and roll life, disability stories. Doug, yeah, attitude, and we'll never forget about you. Today, new day, new guest, let's say. Today, new day.
That is right, and it drops every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, or you can catch it anytime on the platform of your choice. This week, we have what I would really have to characterize as a leader in our community, and we're going to let him kind of briefly introduce himself before we get into the rest of his story.
My name is Rene Rojo. I'm from Riverside, California. I was born with cerebral palsy.
All right, so like my co-host,
Like me.
Miss Addie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys can relate. Well, glad to have you here.
My directory, since people always say we know each other.
That's right.
Right.
I should ask that question. You guys know each other? Well, welcome, Renee. Thank you for joining us here at Walk and Roll Live. So we like to always kind of start, rewind, start at the beginning and just kind of get a feel for what Renee is all about. You're a Riverside guy through and through. Take us back. What was young Renee like growing up? What were you all about?
Oh, well, I was all about going to events, church events, like helping out my mom with the food ministry and always giving back to our church, and whether it was helping my mom in the front office or doing the food drives for the church, and along with growing up as well, I competed in many different types of sports for people with disabilities like myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. I was an athlete for Special Olympics for a number of years, and then shortly after that, I ended up becoming a coach for the Riverside Special Olympics team, and then I coached our basketball team, and they were undefeated for about 16 years. They never lost a game or state games for at least 16 years.
Wow.
They were together, and they were always winning and accomplishing their goal. And going to state games.
Well, they had good coaching.
Yeah,
you need a coach.
definitely. You know, along with my other coaches that we had, they were tremendous working with us and different athletes that had various disabilities. So, you know, obviously, you know, they were able to understand what we were trying to get across to them and teach them.
You are in Orange County?
Well, you have a long history then of doing volunteer work. So you started that young with your mom, and it just carried through, huh?
Yeah, it carried through, and then eventually I ended up starting my own business, which is promoting like community outreach events, and also along with community outreach events, I promote concerts too. So from time to time, I will hook up my friends and family with concert tickets, whether it's R&B, hip hop, or you know, the different genre of music, whatever I can earn a little side money.
Yeah.
And make a good ends meet as far as my living situation.
Amazing.
I do that, and then I also help out with like giving back during the month of December, like toy drives. In November we do turkey giveaways for the city of Riverside. So I help out with a number of different nonprofit organizations, whether it's suicide prevention events and so on, and always trying to sponsor events wherever my hand is needed and giving back to the community.
Maybe in 1 hour.
Very nice.
Amazing.
Rene's a busy guy. We can tell he's somewhere where there's a lot going on here, but we'll get through it. So, and I think we'll get into more depth with your volunteer work a little bit later, but I think Addie's got a question.
Yeah, so I was just curious. Obviously, we know kind of what you grew into in Special Olympics and things, but as a younger person, have you always used a chair? Like, how did your CP affect you? Because we often talk about how cerebral palsy is different for each person. For me, it's not in my speech. It's in the right side of my body. It's in depth perception and the ability to drive. Well, not drive. How about for you?
Same here. I've always had to depend on my wheelchair and obviously can't drive and
Thank you so much.
obviously my stronger side is my left side, and the weakest side is my right side. So, you know, and then obviously the signals in my brain can't transfer to the right body parts to tell it what it needs to do, and what I needed to do within that time frame, or whether it's getting up in the morning, or you know, so on and so on.
Right. We know the life. It's a one brain, two brain, really. Because
Yeah, definitely.
I always say the right side doesn't get the memo until later. And then it's like, oh shoot, I forgot to appear. But you know, we deal, right? It's humor that helps us. But
Yeah,
I'm just curious because I don't use my chair all the time. I swap between a walker and a wheelchair. So I wasn't sure if wheels was the way you go or.
Oh, I have a walker too, but I also need, with the walker, I need somehow with an assistance with that. So I always depend on the chair more, if anything.
Yes. Makes you more free.
More independent, more free.
Yeah. It does slow you down. That's for sure.
Definitely. You know that.
Yeah.
Obviously. And
so as you were going through school, elementary and middle school, on through high school, did you get involved with any leadership organizations at school?
yeah. Well, in high school, I was involved with like a lot of the clubs and the AVID program where we did we went to seminars to learn how to speak in front of people and do a lot of motivational speaking, and then I carry on over to college, which was Riverside. I went to Riverside Community College, and I got my communications degree, and obviously was able to get that degree and achieve that, you know, and it helped me create my promoting business and doing what I do now to get back sponsor many events in the community, and also being on the Board of Trustees for people with disabilities like myself over at Inland Regional Center, and being an advocate, and whether it's negotiating the contracts or whatever the agency entails as board members for us to do, we do.
Yeah. So do you know what drew you to that field of public speaking and communications?
Yeah. That I think that contributes to a lot of that, me being a board member for Inland Regional Center, and along with doing my community advocate work, and whether it's promoting events or just doing doing work with the Autism Society for the Inland Empire region.
Sounds like there's 2 or 3 of you. you're
You're a busy dude.
Right?
How did you, Rene, though, get to a place where you were like, okay, I want to speak up for people that are like me? Because sometimes there are a lot of us that are just kind of sit back and say, okay, life is tough enough trying to figure out how to do this in a different body. I'm going to, do for me. But what really kind of gave you the oomph to say, I'm going to speak up and speak out, even if it's not the easiest thing to do?
Well, for me, it was just, I had seen so many people in a need, within a need and a voice to speak up for themselves, and whether they might have been thinking of what they wanted to say, but they couldn't get it out verbally. So since I had the means and the voice to do so, I would always whether it was I was in a doctor's appointment and I had run into somebody that had a disability like mine, and they needed help communicating, I was always willing to give a hand and help the parent or the person or client or whatever speak on behalf of them and try to figure out what they needed as far as their needs went.
Yeah, so you have a heart for service of others, and you could look at someone else and understand. Like, do you think that came from like being involved in church with your mom, or do you think that was just?
Oh yeah, most definitely that's part of it too. But I also have a sister that had a speech impairment, and she had a speech impairment problem, and so when I was able to figure out on how she communicated, I was able to understand her in my own way, along with the family. So it made it easy for me to understand her. Well, as opposed to other people that may not be able to understand her, whether it was her sign language or just verbally voicing it, or just. And I also had another sister that was disabled and had the cerebral palsy like I had, but she was blind, but she could hear you, but she couldn't see you. She could hear you, but she couldn't see you.
Yeah, so you've been surrounded by a lot of different versions of those of us in different containers, which makes you a strong advocate for it, because you don't get thrown by a difference. You just say, okay, how can I help? And it sounds like that is the heart of you as a human. So bravo.
Yeah. Just sum it up all in one, and that's pretty much it for me. And wherever I can be of service and give help out and be that voice and that advocate for that person, I'm all in.
Even for people that can communicate, just your example, I think, and the knowledge that you can share with them that they can speak up. There are things that you can ask for. Life isn't just surviving. We want to enjoy life, and that comes through adaptive sports and recreation and arts and culture and, all of those different things. So I'm sure you've helped many others as well. So in participating in all these programs for people with disabilities, how did that shape your life? How do you think it's affected you?
It's affected my life and shaped my life in so many ways, because I'm not even not only have I been recognized for and so many people reaching out to me, whether it's via social media or just word of mouth and wanting to get to know me because they hear all the great things that I'm doing for the community, or being a board member for Inland Regional Center, or just being an advocate for even possibilities, and just being the voice that a lot of us people with disabilities don't that may not have a voice. I'm that extra voice that can help.
Yeah, kind of boost their voice.
Yeah.
And you mentioned one word in their partnership. There's so much of that is not only you partnering with people, but I imagine you put two other people together that align with your philosophies probably, and they would be a good fit. So you introduce them as well, I imagine.
Oh yeah, definitely. It goes hand in hand, and you're gonna find people that are with it and people that are not with it, or if they're interested in it, then that's okay. If they're not, then so be it. I mean, whatever floats your boat, then that's you. And I'm not gonna push anyone to do what I do, but if they want to, I'm willing to teach them and help them learn and guide them, and
that's amazing.
Give them the necessary resources to get involved with all that.
That's awesome. We need guides like you. We call those people guides in the world that are like, here you go. Let me show you. It's, what it is. That's a compliment to you, because being selfless, people can do things, but they do things for recognition, or they do things because they want this, that, or the other. So to see someone like you that does it purely out of being selfless and wants truly to grow the community for people to benefit that may not get the benefit if they can't speak up. I'm super impressed to sit here with you, and I feel like I needed to say that. So I know we're not done, but it feels like a necessary comment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot. It's a tremendous blessing to get back to so many with disabilities like myself and yourself and many others, as you know, Doug, as well. And, I don't look for any acclimates or any achievements for it. I do it out of the kindness of my heart. And I do it for people like my sister that's no longer here, that had a disability, and my other sister that was also disabled, had a disability as well, and may they rest in peace, they're in heaven. And I do it on behalf of their name and my family members that are autistic, that have that are on the spectrum of autism, and that's why I help the Autism Society for the Inland Empire region create programs and events and promote their events, because I have relatives that benefit from it, along with many others.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. With the Inland Regional Center, you've been a trustee for 14 years, or did you start as a trustee, or how did that come about? Did you work your way up, or?
Yes, I ended up working my way up. Mm-hmm. I ended up at a day program, and one of the job developers one of the job developer guys that were there at my program called Ability Counts. His name was Wayne Skinner. Saw the potential, and how while I spoke and how intelligent I was, he saw the potential in me, and fell at the application aid. You would succeed and elevate the Board of Trustees for Inland Regional Center over there. In so many ways, you should do it. And I took his word for it, and he helped me get to the interview process, and and he brought me back to the program. And then within maybe a day or two, they called me up and said, "Welcome to the Board of Trustees."
Nice. Congratulations. In just listening to you, and love to learn everything about what you do for our community and your life. But I'm just curious. You mentioned there that sometimes people underestimate somebody with a disability because of the disability without really, learning about, what our capabilities are. So do you run into that a lot throughout your life where people just kind of assume some things?
Yes, unfortunately, I do. Definitely. When I was very younger, I would have, parents of the kids ask me questions or look at me a certain way or weird because they probably have never seen someone with a disability like mine, and they would ask. I would overhear them and say, "Why is that guy in a wheelchair? Why is he like that? Or why can't he walk?" And I would take the time and say, "Excuse me, I would love to explain. Let me give you the opportunity," and I wouldn't shy away from it.
Yeah.
If people ask me, then I would welcome it and I would share my story and so they can better understand me and with many other people with my disability, whether it's autism, cerebral palsy, all different types of disabilities. I was all open to learning and teaching other folks. That's why I got so involved with whether it was my community work or in the regional center for me, the Board of Trustees, because I've always had a passion and wanting to give back to so many people that give back to me, whether it's involving people with disabilities, our community outreach work, or just giving back, doing toy jobs, being a sponsor for many events that were in need for families like myself.
Yeah,
that's why I always continue to do it, because that's my passion. I enjoy, being a voice and being a leader and an advocate for people with disabilities like myself and you guys as well. And I'm truly blessed and honored to have that opportunity and being able to use my voice for good and give back in so many ways.
It sounds like, a lot of that started in your school years where, like you say, you took the initiative to educate people. And I imagine that kind of turned into some lifelong relationships. And, you communicated to people that just because, like my co-host here says, you come in a different container, you're still a whole person. You still have a personality, sense of humor. You can get angry, mad, cry, whatever it is. You're still just like them in their container. So, yeah.
We all have our little container, our box that we're in, but it's okay to break out of the shell and explore it and not be afraid and wanting to let people know about your disability, because there were so many people growing up that would run into me asking me whether it was little young kids or their parents wanting to know how I got into a wheelchair and so on and so on. So, at one point I said to myself, maybe I can use this for good. Let's figure out how I can do this, but in a positive light.
Yeah. How do you okay, so you just kind of hit on it, doing it in a positive light. How do you turn someone who is rude or insensitive into somebody, like, how do you answer them? Not correctly necessarily, but that is always a challenge for me. Like, how do you you have 5 minutes with them to kind of give them the opportunity to see there's a different mindset? Like, are there tools and tips that you might give somebody who's not as used to talking to others as we are?
Yeah.
How to do that, or like how to make a comfortable, an uncomfortable situation more comfortable? I think you and I are kind of born with it, but I feel like it's also our job to kind of be like, it's okay to acknowledge something's awkward.
Yeah, no, and it comes just naturally for me, and there's many tips and trades to the method, and whether it's through life or just a life experience in general, and obviously you have your tips on approaching people with going about it the right way and not having them being shined away from it, and they're getting upset because we're telling them how it may be, but in a nice, respectful way, to where they're not gonna get thrown away or shy away from it or upset.
Yeah. Do you have a particular technique? Mine is humor. So I'm wondering if we as a community tend to lean on humor, or is there kind of a different way that you go about it?
Humor is one way, but for me, it's just right here. Humor is one way, but another way that I deal with it is
I don't know.
right here. Yeah. Another way that I deal with it is just taking the time to show them the different programs that help me throughout the years. So I have a little charting system on how and show them. Okay, these are the keys, and this is how I tend to lean on, and what I don't tend to lean on, because this suggests me to do it this way, but this suggests not me to do it this way. So there's always tips and methods and resources out there. You just have to do your research and be willing and wanting to learn that.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, that leads me right into what I was going to ask about is, you've been in this landscape of the community, the disabled community, for a long time now. And what are your thoughts on what agencies maybe could do differently or better in dealing with our needs?
If I would have to bring a few things that we can do differently, it's just I would say how we would better think things out better for us, and just remember that we're all in a wheelchair for a reason, and there's always a need for our voice, and just not to be afraid to or be shied away from being willing to teach somebody that may need your help.
Yeah, maybe do a little more listening, right?
Yeah, more listening and just having more patience along the way.
Now, when you were a job coach, that's a challenge, isn't it? Because you're not only trying to get them together with an employer and create that relationship, but you have hurdles of preconceived notions that the employer has about somebody with a disability. So you kind of have to get over that hurdle first before you even start talking about the job, right?
Definitely. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you definitely, and that's the key with that, it's just getting over those hurdles, and being willing to being being a client and one of the job developers, along with my assistant job developer, Wayne Skinner. We would have to go in there and brainstorm and what works for people with all types of different disabilities. So we would have to look at their abilities and some of their disabilities that they weren't able to do certain things. So we would have to go and review certain tasks that they were able to, certain tasks that they were not able to. So I would always put their considerations and their conversations I would have with them into consideration too.
We're meeting and learning about a very confident guy, we can tell. But are there moments when you've had to overcome discouragement?
Oh yes, I mean, there's been plenty of incidences where I've had to overcome being discouraged, and I've had situations where, for example, like transportation issues might have an impact with that.
Yeah.
Being that I'm in a wheelchair, so I would always have to always sacrifice, whether it was going to a family event or fun activity, or whether it's going out to a function with a friend, and because I have the means of the transportation to get to point A to point B. So and obviously having my disabilities, you would wake up with the aches and pains, and just asking yourself, why, Lord, why me? Why are you putting me in this position? But I would always have to remind myself, say, okay, the Lord has you like this for a reason. Let's look at the negative. Let's not look at the negative. Let's look toward the positive.
Yeah.
And go from there.
But I can 100,000,000,000% relate to the transportation thing of your brain is ready to go. You really want to be with everybody. You want to be quote unquote normal. And then you can't find a taxi that can take a chair, that you can't even going to conferences that are coming up. I'm already anxious because I'm like, am I going to find a taxi that will take my chair? Or how is this going to work? And so that is the bane of my existence sometimes.
And same goes for me, and it's all about budgeting and finding the right transport and financially being able to afford it, whether it's through a program that can assist you, or you providing with your own means of your own funding, or your own, things like that. So it all sometimes you feel like it falls all on you, but we always have to remember we have friends or family that are willing to help out. But we as people with disabilities like ourselves, we don't want to always depend on our family. So we always try to do it before we ask, or do it ourselves. And
you got to spread it out.
MacGyver, Indiana Jones, Laura Croft, all those things.
Yeah, So you guys can relate. You know where I'm going with that. So
yeah, exactly.
So let's spend a little time before we run out of time talking about, you've got some events coming up, right?
Yes, I matter of fact, I'm actually helping out with a car show event out in Moreno Valley, California. I'm actually one of the sponsors for a youth academy out in Moreno Valley, California. And I'm going to be giving back to whether this youth academy needs sports equipment, whether they need money for their books and school supplies, whatever the academy needs. That's what I'm going to help out with and provide them some funding, whether it's for school or just the academy alone to get them sports equipment, or whatever the academy assist in needs, and whatever they do, that's what I'm going to be sponsoring, and I'm going to help provide that for them, along with our other sponsors that we have. Going to help out in any other way, and in any way that I can help. That's what I'm going to help out with.
All right.
And,
they're up on our website on our events page, so check them out there.
Yeah,
definitely, for sure. And like I said, I'm helping out with the autism awareness event on April 18th as well, and it's based on the community, and it's a car show as well, a lowrider event, and we're gonna have vendors, and whether it's cotton candy machine, popcorn, food vendors, we'll have merchandise vendors, and just different resource vendors for people with autism, whether it's children or adults, things along those lines, and in nature. So
very good, and I'm sure more to come as we get closer to the holidays. Keep them coming. Keep sending me the flyers, and I'll get them up on our events page and do what we can to get the word out. I guess we got to. We always wrap up with this. Just your vision for the future. Whatever it is, maybe a better disability advocacy in our community, or partnerships, those kinds of things. What do you think?
My vision and for the future is just basically I'm wanting to open up more programs for people with disabilities, whether it's like day programs or a group home service. But I also, in order to afford that, have assistants like Inland Regional Center involved and get, ask for grants from different foundations or nonprofits to help fund those programs and use my voice to create more for people like myself and you guys and whether it's getting wheelchair equipment, ramps, sports equipment, you name it. I'm on. And the day programs would be that I would open up would be just getting the different participants like myself out there, whether it's going to the gym or having a job coach assist them and learning on what they would be doing for the day, or just having fun recreation time, or just learning about different job opportunities, whether it's life skills or vocational training programs and et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you're going to be a busy dude.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of people are going to benefit from you, and that's not surprising from hearing your story so far. So we look forward to following it.
Yeah, I'm not a betting man, but I'm betting on you.
Thank you. With my motivation and my drive, I believe that if we want to achieve anything, we can do it. And we just got to believe in ourselves and get it done.
Each week on Walk and Roll Live, we share honest and open stories of people living with a disability.
I was excited to show my family just how much better of a skier I got to be. So we went up on December 30th. Then the next morning, I woke up 10 out of 10 pain. Chest, back, head. I slowly lost all feeling from my feet all the way up to my chest, that I was paralyzed, essentially. I didn't understand what was happening. All I knew is that something scary was going on. And
join us weekly for another powerful episode. Walk and Roll Live, wherever you get your podcasts. Life Limitless. Subscribe now.
From the Ugyard Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
Go. Another one of your CP cohorts. I'm sure you love that interview. Let me count the ways.
I love this interview because you kind of alluded to this earlier when you talked about how he's faithful, sending you resources and stuff. You can tell like the passion in him. The whole time we're interviewing, he's just on fire for what he's doing, and he has a mission that is very driven by selflessness, which for me, I will sit through these stories all day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
When you see somebody like that, who it's not about them, it's not about recognition, it's I have a power to do something and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it on behalf of others. And the fact that he talks about his siblings were ill and some of them passed, and he kind of does them and does it in memory of them.
Yeah.
Which is amazing too, because I feel like having disabilities, it sounds weird, but it's like people think we're not compassionate about others with disabilities because people are compassionate to us. It sounds like a weird comment, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true sometimes.
Good guy. Glad we found him. So, look on the events page and you'll find some of his events are up there right now. I think there's a couple of car shows coming up, so check them out. If you're listening to this before like April of 2026.
Right.
Yeah. All righty. Next week, did I write it down? I thought I wrote it down. Dan Fernandez.
Yes.
Dan Fernandez. He was one of those people I was stalking. We were sitting in the waiting room at United Access that services my van, and got to talking with him. And, pretty soon I got to say, hey, I got a podcast. Want to come on? So
right, Doug is waiting for that segue in every life conversation.
Yeah. Oh, you should have heard me at Easter with all my cousins, handing out stickers. And hey, if you listen to my podcast,
I'm the Easter Bunny of stickers. No, listen to my podcast, darn it.
I'm trying not to overdo it. So, as soon as I start seeing people run when I show up, then I'll know I've probably gone too far. But
you've worn out. You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm going to keep trying. All righty. Well, thank you for listening. We appreciate you so much. Thank you, Addie. Always, you're a light. You bring a light to Walk and Roll Live. Thank you. And I am your host, Doug Vincent, along with the light, Addie Rich, from the Agyar Professional Training Studio. This has been Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories, Life Limitless.